The galactic community had long speculated about the mysterious planet called Earth. Tucked away in the Sol system, Earth remained unnoticed by most until humanity began launching crude space probes beyond their atmosphere. The aliens, largely dismissive of Earth's limited technology, found these first attempts amusing and quaint, a primitive species tentatively poking its head into the vastness of space. But one year, the Federation of Star Systems noticed something unusual. New ships, unmistakably human in origin, had appeared on the borders of neighboring star systems. The crafts were rugged, minimalistic, and sported a design philosophy that emphasized functionality over aesthetics. The humans were entering space with a level of audacity that took even the oldest species in the galaxy by surprise. When an unregistered human craft appeared in Federation-controlled space, Counselor Threx of the Xandrians, a seasoned leader of the Galactic Assembly, was appointed to manage the diplomatic encounter. Tall, imposing, with translucent skin that shimmered under the Council's soft lighting, Threx was the epitome of Xandrian dignity. He expected that establishing communication with the human ship would be a trivial formality. Humans, after all, were new to the vastness of the universe and, logically, would be deferential. Captain Mira Donovan commanded the human ship, the SS Endeavour. Mira was a capable leader with a reputation for taking calculated risks, though many back on Earth considered her a bit of a maverick. The mission had started as a basic exploration of the nearby systems. But the moment her crew detected a signal from an alien ship, curiosity overwhelmed any protocol she'd been given. Here, at last, was proof of life beyond Earth. She decided to establish contact, despite the risks. The initial meeting took place on the Endeavour's bridge, broadcast to the Federation headquarters for the entire Council to observe. Counselor Threx appeared on the ship's central screen, looking as dignified and condescending as he could manage. Human representative, he began in a voice laced with superiority. Welcome to Federation space. I am Counselor Threx of the Xandrian species, representing the collective interests of the Federation. Please identify your intentions. Captain Mira glanced around at her crew, unable to suppress a smirk. Greetings, Counselor Threx. I'm Captain Mira Donovan of the Earth vessel, SS Endeavour. We're here on a peaceful exploration mission. You could say we're the welcoming committee from humanity. Threx's translucent skin flushed a faint shade of green, a Xandrian sign of annoyance. Exploration? Without prior approval from the Federation? This is highly irregular. In fact, we have protocols that... Mira, unfazed, interrupted. Counselor, with all due respect, we didn't know the galaxy had entry requirements. She smiled diplomatically. We're new to all this, you see. But we're fast learners. Threx's expression hardened. Perhaps you should first acquaint yourselves with galactic customs before venturing so boldly into Federation space. Myra's gaze held steady. With respect, Counselor, we've been curious about the stars since before we could even fly. We're here to understand, to explore, and, yes, to learn. But we won't stop just because it makes some members of the galaxy uncomfortable. The exchange set the stage for a series of escalating misunderstandings. Federation Council members grew increasingly wary of the humans' unpredictable behavior. For instance, the Endeavour crew preferred straightforward conversations, which many of the more diplomatic alien species found blunt and offensive. Humans made decisions quickly and often sidestepped protocol, which the Federation deemed reckless. Yet for every point of contention, Myra's crew had a ready answer. Meanwhile, on Earth, the rest of humanity was reveling in the thrill of first contact. News broadcasts and social media were alive with discussions, theories, and debates about Earth's place in the galaxy. While governments scrambled to develop strategies for interstellar diplomacy, ordinary people found the situation thrilling and transformative. As tensions mounted between the humans and Federation representatives, Mira knew they would need to tread carefully. Yet, despite the skepticism and irritation from the other species, there was a glint of fascination. Humanity's boldness intrigued them. Captain Mira Donovan and her crew quickly became accustomed to Federation scrutiny. Despite initial resistance, they were determined to continue their mission. Every step they took was watched, analyzed, and, more often than not, criticized. The Federation's council chambers were abuzz with conversations about humanity's brazen tactics and what this might mean for the galactic community. Yet, in her typical fashion, Mira found ways to use this curiosity to her advantage. Every week, Mira and her crew continued to explore nearby systems, documenting their findings and establishing tentative relations with various alien species. Many Federation representatives held deep-rooted reservations about humanity's rapid progress. They couldn't understand how a species that had only just broken through the technological barrier of faster-than-light travel could act so confidently in a universe filled with species far older and more advanced. One day, while Mira was conducting a survey of a mineral-rich asteroid belt, a ship approached the Endeavour. This vessel bore the emblem of the Telari, a well-regarded race known for their mining expertise. The Telari had been a core Federation member for millennia and had exclusive rights to several resource-rich regions across multiple systems. The Telari ship was captained by Vorth, a stocky, practical-minded alien with an irritable disposition and a grudge against intruders. The Telari vessel opened a channel, and Vorth's face filled the Endeavour's main screen. His reddish eyes narrowed with annoyance as he scanned Myra's crew. "Captain Mira Donovan of Earth, do you realize you're trespassing into Telari-controlled space?" Vorth's voice rumbled with authority. Mira, unfazed, offered him a courteous nod. "Captain Vorth, we're conducting a survey mission. We mean no harm to your territory or operations. In fact, we're only passing through." Vorth's jaw clenched. "These mineral fields are off-limits to non-Federation members. Your presence here is a violation of Federation protocols." Myra's eyes met Vorth's without flinching. "With all due respect, Captain, we weren't aware of those restrictions. We've logged our survey data, and we're prepared to leave. But perhaps, instead of strict boundaries, we could discuss potential collaborations. Earth is new to the galaxy, yes, but we're open to partnerships." Vorth's expression grew darker. "Partnerships? We don't form alliances with reckless newcomers. Humanity has yet to prove it's even worthy of standing among the Federation's ranks." The channel closed abruptly. Mira turned to her crew with a sigh. "Well, it seems our reputation is working against us yet again." "Captain," her navigator, Lieutenant Foster, began, "should we retreat from the field?" Mira shook her head. "Not just yet. We're here to learn, to explore, and yes, to show that Earth isn't afraid to stand its ground. If we leave every time we meet resistance, the Federation will never take us seriously." Meanwhile, the Federation Council was once again embroiled in debate over humanity's actions. Councillor Threx, who had been tasked with monitoring Myra's movements, saw the encounter with the Telari as yet another sign of human overreach. "It's clear," he announced during a council meeting, "that humanity's unpredictable nature poses a risk. They act without regard for our established protocols, and they are already encroaching on Federation resources. If left unchecked, this could lead to open conflict." While some council members agreed, others expressed cautious curiosity about humanity's potential. Humanity's rapid advancements and adaptability had begun to attract the attention of species that had grown complacent under the Federation's bureaucracy. The Solari, a species known for their artistic and philosophical leanings, spoke in defense of humanity. Councillor Lyra, representing the Solari, raised her voice. "We must remember that humanity's eagerness is not necessarily a threat. They are merely different from us, and that difference could lead to new perspectives and, potentially, innovations that benefit us all." Threx scoffed. "New perspectives? They barged into our galaxy, disrupting our traditions, and now they expect to be treated as equals." "But perhaps that's exactly what we need," Lyra argued. "The Federation has been stagnant for centuries. Humanity's arrival may be the catalyst for evolution." The council remained divided, with some in favor of allowing humanity to continue their exploration, while others, like Threx, argued for stricter restrictions. Threx eventually secured a temporary motion to limit humanity's access to certain star systems. A Federation fleet was dispatched to enforce this directive. Mira received the warning from Federation forces within hours, notifying her that the Endeavour would be restricted from certain regions deemed sensitive. To her frustration, this effectively closed off large sections of nearby systems with rich resources and historic sites, cutting them off from a significant portion of their planned exploration path. Fuming, Mira gathered her crew in the briefing room. "This is their way of putting us in a box, controlling our every move," she said. "They're testing us, pushing us back each time we move forward." Her second-in-command, Commander Briggs, leaned forward thoughtfully. "They're scared of us, Captain. And frankly, I can see why. Humanity is moving faster than they anticipated." Lieutenant Foster sighed, "So what's our next move? If we push against their restrictions, they might escalate things." Mira smirked. "Good. Let's see if they're willing to commit to enforcing this blockade. We'll continue our mission in the unrestricted zones, and we'll keep close records of everything we find. The more we learn, the stronger our position when the time comes to negotiate again." For weeks, the Endeavour traversed uncharted space, gathering valuable data on nearby systems and charting courses through starfields untouched for centuries. Myra's reports, unfiltered, detailed, and honest, became increasingly popular within the Federation's information channels, earning admiration from some Federation citizens who had grown tired of bureaucratic restrictions. As more species learned of humanity's exploits, public opinion began to shift. The younger generations of several species found humanity's fearlessness and curiosity inspiring. Some alien civilians even sent messages of support to Mira and her crew, expressing admiration for their tenacity. But Threx, alarmed by the shifting sentiment, doubled down on his efforts to control the humans' influence. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity followed each update from the Endeavour with pride and fascination. News of Myra's encounters and the Federation's attempts to block them became rallying points for Earth's emerging space programs and diplomatic efforts. Back on Earth, scientists, engineers, and even politicians began preparing for the possibility of permanent interstellar presence and, if necessary, conflict. One evening, as the Endeavour was scanning a series of nebulae, Mira received a direct message from an anonymous Federation source. The message warned of a Federation task force preparing to intercept her ship if she continued her exploration. It seemed the Council had lost patience with Myra's defiance, and they were ready to make an example of her. Mira shared the news with her crew, and the tension was palpable. They knew the Federation's power far outweighed their own. They had limited weaponry and few allies willing to stand up openly against the Federation's orders. For a moment, doubt crept into Myra's thoughts. They had pushed the limits of exploration, but now it seemed they were backed into a corner. "We could head back to Earth," suggested Commander Briggs cautiously. "Play it safe, regroup, and wait until we have more support." But Mira shook her head, a steely determination in her eyes. "If we retreat now, we'll never gain their respect. They'll see us as just another species that bowed under pressure." Lieutenant Foster chimed in, "So what do we do, Captain?" Mira paused, then made a decision. "We're going to keep moving forward. We'll proceed to our next target system, document everything, and if they intercept us, we'll make it clear that humanity doesn't scare easily." With their path set, the Endeavour proceeded towards the edge of restricted space, and Mira braced herself for what was to come. The Federation would likely respond with overwhelming force, but humanity had no intention of turning back. The Endeavour pushed through the outer edges of restricted space, a lone vessel amid the vast expanse of stars. Myra's defiance was both a statement and a gamble. She knew that crossing into Federation-controlled zones would bring consequences. But she also knew that it would test the Federation's willingness to enforce their limitations on humanity, a species with nothing to lose. The crew prepared for the possibility of confrontation. Every system check was double-checked, every shield and weapon was powered up and optimized. Tension filled the ship, but there was an underlying excitement as well. They were all here because they believed in Myra's mission and trusted her instinct. They knew that whatever happened next could change humanity's future among the stars. The silence didn't last long. As they neared their next target system, a small Federation fleet appeared on their scanners, positioned in a perfect blockade across the Endeavor's path. At the center of the formation was a massive Xandrian command ship, unmistakably Counselor Threx's personal vessel. Mira clenched her fists as she recognized the Counselor's insignia on the main screen. The comms crackled to life, and Threx's face filled the Endeavor's main view screen, his expression severe. "Captain Mira Donovan," Threx began, his voice carrying a tone of finality. "This is your last warning. You are trespassing in Federation-controlled space. Turn back immediately, or you will be forcibly removed." Mira held her ground. "Counselor Threx, we're here to explore, just as every species in this galaxy has done before us. We come with no ill intentions, only a desire to learn and grow. Humanity doesn't intend to be confined." Threx's translucent skin flushed a faint, irritated green. "Your arrogance is astounding, Captain. You overestimate your significance. The Federation has tolerated your actions thus far, but that patience is now at an end. You have crossed the line." Mira exhaled, her gaze unwavering. "Counselor, perhaps it's the Federation that underestimates us. Humanity may be new to the stars, but we've always found a way to survive, even under the most challenging circumstances. We're here to stay, whether the Federation approves or not." Threx's expression darkened. "Then you leave us no choice." The transmission cut off abruptly, and the Federation fleet sprang into action. Ships moved to surround the Endeavor, and Threx's command ship powered up its weapons. The Endeavor's shields flared to life, enveloping the ship in a shimmering barrier, but Mira knew they wouldn't withstand a direct assault from multiple Federation vessels for long. "Captain, they're locking weapons on us," Lieutenant Foster called out, panic creeping into his voice. Myra's mind raced. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and surrounded, but she wasn't about to back down. "Hold our position," she ordered. "Activate full shields and prepare evasive maneuvers. We're not making this easy for them." Just as Threx's fleet opened fire, Myra's tactical officer, Lieutenant Singh, had an idea. "Captain, what if we use the nebula nearby? The dense gases could disrupt their targeting systems and give us a chance to escape or regroup." Myra's eyes lit up. "Good thinking, Singh. Set a course for the nebula. Full speed." The Endeavor surged forward, diving toward the nearby nebula, a massive cloud of swirling gases and charged particles that made navigation hazardous but could also shield them from enemy sensors. The Federation fleet pursued, but as they entered the nebula, their targeting systems began to falter. The Endeavor ducked and weaved through the dense clouds, dodging the occasional plasma blast and using the nebula's interference to their advantage. Inside the nebula, the Federation ships struggled to keep up, their advanced targeting systems rendered nearly useless. Myra's crew, used to their captain's unorthodox tactics, quickly adapted. As the Endeavor maneuvered through the gas clouds, they used short-range scans to pinpoint the nearest Federation vessels and launched countermeasures to disrupt their sensors further. Threx's command ship struggled to maintain contact with the rest of his fleet. Mira could hear snippets of Federation transmissions on the comms, filled with confusion and frustration. The Endeavor was proving to be a tougher opponent than Threx had anticipated. "Captain, we've managed to disable one of their smaller ships," reported Singh. "Their systems are in complete disarray." Mira allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Let's keep them on their toes." The Endeavor darted through the nebula like a shadow, capitalizing on every opportunity to evade and counter the Federation's maneuvers. Threx's forces were powerful, but they had grown too accustomed to controlling the battlefield. They weren't prepared for the resourcefulness and adaptability of a human crew pushed to its limits. Suddenly, the Endeavor's scanners picked up a massive energy spike within the nebula, a Federation destroyer charging up a devastating ion cannon aimed at them. Myra's heart skipped a beat. If that shot connected, their shields wouldn't stand a chance. Evasive maneuvers. All power to engines, she shouted, gripping her console. The Endeavor swerved just in time as the ion blast fired, missing by a hair's breadth and dispersing harmlessly into the nebula's gases. Mira knew they couldn't keep this up forever. They needed an edge, something to turn the tide in their favor. Just then, a transmission came through from a nearby Federation ship, but this one was different. It wasn't Threx's command, but rather a Solari captain, one of the council members who had defended humanity's right to explore. Captain Donovan, this is Captain Kalen of the Solari vessel Astrian. We've observed enough. The Federation's actions today are excessive. Myra's eyes widened as Kalen continued. Many of us have grown weary of the Federation's heavy-handed approach. If you're willing, the Astrian and a few other ships are prepared to assist. We believe that the galaxy could use more diversity and openness, not less. Mira didn't hesitate. Captain Kalen, we welcome your support. Let's show the Federation that humanity isn't alone in its vision for the galaxy. With the Solari and a few other ships joining their side, the Endeavor and its newfound allies turned to face Threx's fleet. What had begun as a one-sided pursuit had now evolved into a full-scale engagement within the nebula. The Federation forces, caught off guard by the defections, scrambled to regroup, but the advantage had shifted. The Endeavor and its allies moved with precision, leveraging their smaller numbers and the nebula's cover to outmaneuver Threx's fleet. Kalen's Solari vessel unleashed an energy pulse that disrupted the targeting systems of Threx's command ship, leaving it vulnerable. Mira seized the opportunity. Target Threx's engines. Let's cripple that command ship. The Endeavor and its allies concentrated fire on Threx's command ship, their combined efforts finally overwhelming its defenses. The Xandrian vessel shuddered as its engines were disabled, leaving it adrift in the nebula. Threx's face appeared on Myra's screen one final time, his expression twisted with frustration and disbelief. This insolence will not go unpunished. The Federation will not forget this. Mira met his gaze with unwavering determination. Maybe it's time for the Federation to remember that they aren't the only ones with a say in this galaxy. With their flagship disabled and the Allied forces rallying around the Endeavor, the remaining Federation ships had no choice but to retreat. As the last of Threx's forces exited the nebula, a sense of victory settled over Mira and her crew. They had not only survived, they had won a confrontation that many had thought impossible. As the remnants of Threx's fleet limped out of the nebula, leaving Mira and her allies victorious, a new resolve took hold among the crews of the Allied ships. This wasn't merely a battle won. It was the beginning of a movement that would reshape the galaxy. Back aboard the Endeavor, the crew erupted into cheers. Exhausted yet invigorated, they celebrated the improbable victory, embracing, clapping each other on the back, and exchanging relieved smiles. Mira allowed herself a moment to savor the triumph, but she knew the battle with the Federation wasn't truly over. In the days following the battle, the news spread like wildfire across galactic networks. Videos, reports, and images of the Endeavor and its allied ships taking on the Federation filled news channels and personal screens across countless systems. For many, the sight was nothing short of inspiring. Humanity, the newcomer to the galactic stage, had dared to stand up to the Federation, and they hadn't done it alone. The symbolic act of the Solari and other allied ships joining the humans resonated deeply, shaking the established norms of the galaxy. The Federation Council was thrown into turmoil. Councillor Threx faced intense scrutiny for his actions, with many questioning whether his insistence on controlling humanity had been wise. Other council members, particularly those representing species sympathetic to humanity, began to openly call for reforms. They argued that the galaxy could no longer be held under one species' interpretation of order and that the Federation needed to adapt or risk alienating even more allies. Captain Kalin and the other defectors joined Mira and her crew on the Endeavour to discuss what their alliance might look like moving forward. Mira welcomed them with open arms, grateful for their bravery and solidarity. "We've shown the galaxy that the Federation's power isn't as absolute as they'd like us to believe," Mira began. "But we can't do this alone. If we're to secure a future where every species has a voice, we need to unite." Kalin nodded, his reflective Solari eyes glinting with conviction. "There are many who share our sentiments, Captain Donovan. The Federation's stagnation has led to resentment across its member species. Humanity's courage has sparked something. But we must be wise in our next steps." Together, they formed a plan to establish the Alliance of Independent Worlds, a coalition of species dedicated to defending the autonomy and rights of all members. They would stand as a counterbalance to the Federation, a coalition that would champion freedom, exploration, and cooperation without the oppressive restrictions imposed by bureaucratic control. Mira knew that Earth's leaders would need to support the Alliance if it were to succeed. She sent a transmission back to Earth, outlining the recent events and inviting Earth to officially endorse and join the Alliance. Her message was met with overwhelming support. Humanity's leaders saw the Alliance as a vital opportunity to secure Earth's place in the galaxy, and they recognized that the Endeavor's victory had cemented their reputation as a species willing to stand for what was right. A historic summit was soon held on Tyrian 4, a neutral planet with grand landscapes that mirrored the diverse biospheres of the many species attending. The summit marked the official foundation of the Alliance of Independent Worlds. Leaders, dignitaries, and representatives from dozens of species gathered to pledge their commitment to a new era of cooperation. The atmosphere was electric with possibility. Speeches were given, and stories of bravery were shared as each species acknowledged the Alliance's significance. Mira, Captain Kalin, and the other leaders stood proudly at the summit's forefront, receiving a standing ovation from the attendees. Councillor Threx and his allies in the Federation, however, viewed the formation of the Alliance with a mixture of anger and fear. To them, this alliance represented a destabilizing force, one that could challenge the Federation's long-standing rule. Threx lobbied for military action, claiming that the Alliance was a direct threat to galactic order. But Threx was losing his grip. Many Federation members had grown weary of his authoritarian approach, and the growing support for the Alliance made them hesitate to escalate the conflict. The Federation, once seen as an unyielding force, now faced a choice: adapt or risk losing its hold on the galaxy. Over the next few months, the Alliance grew rapidly. Species from all corners of the galaxy joined, each bringing their own talents, technologies, and cultural wisdom. They worked to establish laws and agreements based on mutual respect and cooperation, drawing on humanity's own philosophies of freedom and resilience. Mira and her crew continued to lead exploration missions, now under the banner of the Alliance, often visiting planets that had been off-limits under Federation rule. They received warm welcomes from species who had previously lived in fear of Federation control. Humanity's reputation had shifted from that of a reckless newcomer to that of a brave pioneer, willing to stand up for the oppressed and overlooked. The Alliance's success brought Mira a profound sense of satisfaction. She had taken a risk by standing up to the Federation, but now, seeing the fruits of their labor, she knew it had been worth it. Earth, once isolated in its corner of the galaxy, had found a place among the stars. During one of her final missions before returning to Earth, Mira received a transmission from Councillor Threx himself. His face was tight, his eyes filled with a grudging respect. "Captain Donovan," he said slowly, as though each word pained him, "the Federation has acknowledged the legitimacy of the Alliance of Independent Worlds. Your species has achieved more than anyone thought possible." Mira raised an eyebrow. "A surprising admission, Counselor. Does this mean you'll leave us in peace?" Threx's gaze hardened slightly. "Don't mistake this for surrender. The Federation will be watching closely. But for now, we will respect the Alliance's autonomy. Mira nodded, a hint of a smile on her lips. Good. Perhaps in time, the Federation will come to see the value in cooperation over control. Threx's image faded from the screen, and Mira allowed herself a small sigh of relief. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a start. Humanity had carved a place for itself in the galaxy, and the Alliance of Independent Worlds had given hope to countless species longing for freedom. Back on Earth, news of the Alliance's triumph sparked celebrations. Humanity had entered a new era, one where they were no longer isolated or underestimated. They were now respected members of an interstellar coalition, champions of unity and resilience. From bustling cities to rural towns, people gathered to toast the brave crew of the Endeavor and the newfound friends who had stood beside them. As Mira stood on the Endeavor's bridge, looking out at the stars, she knew that there would always be challenges ahead. But they would face them together, as part of something greater than any one species. With the Alliance by their side, humanity was no longer just exploring the galaxy. They were helping shape its future.